Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Jenkins, and I'm the leader for the U.S. enterprise business for Tata Communications. Tata is a 6-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Network Services, is very proud today to bring this very special presentation to you from one of our key clients. Visteon is a global business at the forefront of automotive cockpit electronics. All of you in here, I'm sure, drive, and you get to experience a lot of what Visteon brings to the table right there in front of you in the dashboard of the vehicle. Tata Communications has worked with Visteon to provide them with the underpinning networking and connectivity infrastructure to help them with their digital transformation journey. Today, we're delighted to have with us Raman Mehta. He's the Chief Information Officer and Vice President of Visteon, and he has joined us to give us a good presentation on how Visteon is leveraging the technology along with the many applications and strategies that they're implementing to become a more agile and creative business. All of this against the backdrop of all of the huge changes that are occurring in the automotive industry. Please help me in welcoming Raman to the stage.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, sir.
All right, folks, we'll make the next half an hour a lot of fun. Fun because we live in very interesting times. When I say interesting times, pretty soon it will be illegal to drive our own cars. That's the world we are living in. Now, what I will do, I'm going to narrate a very hands-on journey. My goal in next half an hour for everybody is to take at least one thing that you can ask your implementation partners or your IT team, are we doing these things? If you can take that one takeaway, I think it's a time well spent. So let me give you a little bit of a background on what we do and how it was so imperative for us to really look into this transformation. Now, when people talk about digital transformation, it's a very overly used word. Everybody says that. So my daughter asked me, Daddy, what do you mean by transformation? She's a data science student at University of Michigan. So I said, the digital transformation is about two things. One is doing different things. And the second part, which people don't get very well, is doing things differently. So let me kind of give you a little bit more flavor. Doing different things, all of us understand. We want to take our products and extend the revenue cycle into services, really go to customers with a 360-degree view. All of that part we get very, very well. That's the doing different things. But to make doing things different easy, you have to do things differently. And this is where how you make your IT infrastructure more resilient, reliable, and become a part of the product innovation cycle at the company is the goal for IT. So that's where we'll spend some time today. So we are a 10,000 employee company. We pretty much have plants in every part of the world. We've got plants in Brazil. We've got plants in China, India, Japan. So you can see we're a very, very geographic spread. Now, Visteon made a conscious decision, and we today are a $3.2 billion company, and every single penny of our revenue comes from electronics. We used to be a much different company a few years back. We were into seating, climate control, but now we are completely focused on cockpit electronics. So talk about being at the right place at the right time. That really happened to us. The whole world is moving towards autonomous driving, and we have the expertise in the cockpit. So we see that if you're able to transform ourselves, so just a couple of years back, more and more of our engineers were doing hardware-related work. We had a lot of analog products. Now we are moving into digital products. So our challenge was to transform those 5,000 engineers and make them software-focused. That comes with a lot of challenges. How do you make them collaborate? How do you give them that they're working for a modern digital company. So all of those were challenges for us. Now, when I introduce Visteon, I say we are a tier 1 automotive. And right at that point, I take a pause. What does a tier 1 mean these days? If you look, 2 years back, Intel paid $15 billion for an Israeli company named Mobileye. And the revenue of that company at that time was around $350 million. So they could see that that company was going to be a big player into automotive. So now companies like NVIDIA, like Mobileye, Intel, Qualcomm are going up the value chain, and they are talking to the OEMs directly. So they are becoming more like 0.5 tier. So in that space, how does IT play a role so that we become relevant and we actually help drive the innovation for our products? So if you've driven this morning, chances are that you probably looked at one of our digital clusters or infotainment. These are some of the products that we make. And what I'll do is basically look at some of the trends that are happening in the automotive industry. And where are the challenges? Where can IT help in making these challenges so they don't disrupt your own business and at the same time try to gain much bigger market share? So the first thing that's happening is that we are moving from the analog to digital world. And we want to have the same experience when we are looking at our iPhone. The boundaries between our work, our home, and our offices are completely blurring because you take your work and you want to be dialed into a conference call. The car should know where you're going, what your route looks like, and immediately give you that connectivity. And same thing in the office. So how do you make that journey happen is one of our challenges. So if you see, the trend-wise, there are a few safety trends, and there are some cockpit trends that are emerging together. Now, when people talk about the autonomous driving, everybody kind of got, I would say, jump ahead of time and say the level 4 or level 5 driving will be right around the corner. We believe it's going to take a lot longer than people originally thought. But what's going to come in the real near future is the safety-driven autonomous, where the car is actually playing a bigger role in making our life safer. And this is where it's going to be a gradual journey into full automation. So we think level 2, level 3 are going to be driven by the cockpit experience and the safety. And if you see, there are a few trends that are really enabling that journey. And when it becomes a part of the regulation, when the European NCAP comes and says, by 2020, you need to provide driver monitoring. So let me explain what that means. When you are driving, there can be a camera which is driven by artificial intelligence, and it can really recognize your state of mind in terms of your blink rate, your fatigue, how often you are gauging on the road, and give you an alert. So when these things become mandate and a kind of a non-commodity, every manufacturer would have to go. And all of these applications are extremely data hungry. Not only they need a lot of data, but this is a safety domain that has to be really made sure that there are fail-safe mechanisms in place. So that's very important. Safety trends we've talked about, the regulations that are going to drive this industry at a much faster pace of the innovation. Now, Visteon is kind of moving into what I call from our core platforms, and our goal is to move as to what we call a drive core platform. What that means is we want to provide a platform where OEMs can plug in and design their ADAS systems on that. We can give the third-party application development people to bring their own algorithms in the cloud and test how well they detect the distance between the vehicles, how they find the space between the vehicles. So those are the things that we want to provide in the cloud platform, where different partners as part of the ecosystem can bring it together. So what I'm doing right now, I'm leaving you all these breadcrumbs as to how technology is going to play a front and center role to enable that journey. Now, if you see here, if you look into the future, a couple of things that are happening are we are working on these smart mobile assistant. Those are always connected devices like Alexa, but in the context of an automobile. It knows that you are in the car, it can understand, and it can work in a non-connected mode as well. So we are looking at all of these things that are coming in and provide a very, very seamless experience to our end users. What this does is it puts a lot of stress or new way of thinking for the suppliers. So what I call in the suppliers in the Auto 2.0 world are going to be playing by different standards, different rules. We are all going to be fighting for the same talent. If I'm looking for a machine learning or a data science expert, those talents are very difficult to find. And companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're all vying for that talent. How do I create Visteon to be a fun place where the young people want to work? And that's where it comes, where you can give them a work-life balance, where you can give them the flexibility to work from anywhere, and that's a very difficult problem to solve. And we'll talk about that, how we have done that in the last 2 years. So now, to become a disruptor, there are a few trends that you need to watch out very, very carefully. Number one is that our world is becoming AI-driven. So let me give a very simple example. People talk about what exactly AI means in simple terms. The amount of data that we are generating in a given day is rising exponentially. And the devices that we use, their size is gradually decreasing. So the role of AI is to provide the prescriptive information by mining all that data which is contextual to that user. That's basically what we mean by AI there. So what I did when I took this job around 2 years back, we were underinvested in our technology. With the automotive, all of the companies in 2009 bankruptcy had not spent enough in their infrastructure. So from that point, my first discussion with our board was, I said, the technology is the easy piece. It's the part that we have to understand the business is much more difficult. So I put a very simple 3-step framework called energize, engage, and innovate. The first part of this framework was that as an IT team, our mindset was to stay out of the path of trouble. And when I saw that, I said, the moment you have that mindset, you're automatically excluding you from the path of success. So we went out to our key stakeholders on my day one. I said, I'm going to put a 90-day plan, and things that are of immediate problem that we have not solved before, if I give you a solution for those, will you engage with us? And we found, we had the agreement, some of the problems were very simple as, hey, why should my month-end processing take 15 days? Why can't we do it in 5 days? We had a lot of fatigue between our systems when we were transferring data. We had problems with our master data. So we kind of took a holistic view of that and declared a few wins with our business. And that brought us together. The second step of the journey was being engaged. Now, engagement is, again, a very overly used word. Engagement doesn't mean that with your business, you put a 2x2 matrix and you are discussing requirements with them. No. As IT people, we probably have the best opportunity because we understand the 360-degree view. We know how order to cash really works. So our goal was to take this process expertise and influence the cloud discussions. We wanted to become a company which stopped saying cloud first. The moment you say cloud first, in your head, you are thinking second, third option. We said we want to be cloud only. And then when you take that bet and try to implement some of these big systems, like your ERP system, what that does is it becomes a non-cost discussion. Cost is the easy part, everybody understands. But being in the cloud gives you the freedom that you are taking up all the innovation that your partners are making. You are no longer logged into that wild, wild west world where, rampantly you were customizing. And now the world has moved and you are stuck with that. So that's the big bet we've made with our business, that we want to enable that journey. They were with us in that, and that is what is paving us a lot of benefit. It's making us asset light. We are not investing that much into our capital intensive data centers. And more, very opportunistically, we are going in the cloud. Once you do these two things, automatically you get to play a part in the innovation cycle. You have to earn that right. Nobody will come to IT. See, as IT people, we are very good with the how part. Give me a problem, I'll roll up my sleeve, and I'll figure it out. But we never got the seat at the table where the companies are deciding the what. What should we do as our roadmap for next 2 years? So if you do the first two parts, automatically people will come to you. In our case, it happened so well because all of these applications that we are trying to work with the autonomous driving, they are very heavy on the network requirements. They are heavy on the compute requirements when you are solving it on the cloud, when you're running these big algorithms that are used for machine data training, the data labels. So we were a natural stop for our business, and that's where we want to take this journey through our partners. So one thing we did here was to become the best in-class company. We set up a 5-step process that we need to take care of some of our foundational things, really have the best network that we can provide to our people, and all the way kind of go up the chain, implement the ERP that is making all the plant applications consistent. Why should a plant look different from one another? That gives me the freedom to move resources. And at the end, as I said, move into the innovation cycle. Now, the things that we did to give a little bit more into this is implement this best service desk and take it where the end user computing becomes very efficient. What I tell people, to become a disruptor, if you can give 15 extra minutes to your best and brightest engineers, they have time. We bog them down with a lot of IT problems. And this is where we said our system should have the capability of self-healing. If a disk usage or CPU is going up, you automatically have all these bots that can go, fix it, and raise a ServiceNow ticket, and you can do some root cause analysis. So that closed loop mindset really helps a lot. And ultimately, our goal was to improve our networks. So let's spend a couple of minutes on that. Now, this is where we went to our partners. At this point, a couple of years back, we are spending a lot of money into what I call those fixed high-price MPLS networks. In fact, we had a data center in Europe which was not running any application. It was only bridging the traffic between the different providers. It was as bad. So our goal was to create one network which is managed by the people who are experts and really provide the security and grow on top of that network. So today, across the whole of Visteon, we have one provider, Tata Communications, whether it's China, India, and the footprint looks absolutely identical. So we have built in redundancy at every site from the last mile providers. So if something breaks, you can switch the traffic on the other line, and the whole thing is monitored with centralized consoles. And that gives you a lot of benefits. So what I did today is kind of broken it down into a few points that we saw from this journey. The first thing is that we got rid of all our appliances. The appliances, by the nature, if you have a proxy checking, what happens is you are actually bringing all your traffic from remote locations to your corporate data centers. So you're doing a lot of backhauling, which adds no value, and you can never keep up with the security policies because these are appliances. So what we have done, we've taken the security in the cloud where our providers are monitoring millions of packages, millions of threat signatures, And the moment they find something which is on a different customer, immediately we get the benefit of that. So humanly, it's not possible for a small team, but having this architecture where your network starts to reside in the cloud, it makes a big difference. Now, all of us have some sort of Office 365. Our experience for the end users on Office has become so much more delightful. What has happened is now, instead of taking the traffic and bringing it to a corporate data center, we exit to the nearest point of that location, and it goes to the Microsoft pod. That gives you the best latency and the most optimal experience. Now, other thing that we realized was that there are a lot of threats that are hidden in your SSL traffic, which very few companies are monitoring. With this architecture now, where the entire network looks uniform, all your inspection, all your policies in the cloud, it makes it that much easy to really monitor that. So what that does is, basically, we have made it a point where the experience that people have. So just to give an example, a few months back, we launched Microsoft Teams for the entire population of 10,000 employees. Now, this has been, people see the end experience. The hard work that we did to bring our network to that tuning level gave a very good experience to our end users. I mean, we are spending probably 5% of what we used to spend on our conference expenses before, with much different, much degraded experience than what we get today. Today, the engineers in Visteon, sitting in Germany or in Detroit, can draw on the same digital whiteboard and continue the meeting. So I chuckle with my team that the start of our meetings have become frictionless. You go to a conference room, it knows this is your meeting, you just hit the join button, you are there. But we don't guarantee what happens in the meeting. There can still might be friction. But the whole experience where it has become reliable has given us a lot of confidence. So we've taken it to the next level now. So we solved the problem of the connectivity, reliability, conference calling. We are taking it to next step where we want to get rid of the desk phones. Our users are coming to us that why should we have cluttered desks now? So we are now launching Teams on the Tata network where everything will be in the cloud. We will have absolutely zero footprint on these appliances. And that way, we can move people around. They can, a lot of these things that you get from the digital experience. Not only we are going to save money, because if you've dealt with those lines, those old PRI lines, they're expensive. This is much, much more modern. So the bottom line is, these things take a lot of time. Today, 95% of Visteon network traffic is on public internet. That's a pretty big statement. And I only recommend, if you have high blood pressure, don't do it. It's a lot of hard work. You need a good partner. And also, you need a lot of support from your executives. Our CEO, who's a great technical mind, he was the force behind that we need to change with the changing times. So he gave the commitment that we are fully behind that. So you need to make sure that you're aligning your relationship with your stakeholders, and choosing the right partners is a journey. You will see the hiccups, but at the end, it's worth it. And we are a living example of that. So let me give you a few of the future trends that I see that are emerging. And foundationally, if you have a very robust infrastructure, depending on the industry that you are in, you can start spending some energy on those. A couple of my favorite ones are the Internet of the Things for the industrial context. So what we are looking right now is we are taking this journey into our factories where we want to make them smarter by connecting them and streaming their characteristics in real time, again, because we have a good network, in the cloud, and figure out, as an example, in the electronics business, we have these machines called pick-and-place machines. They take thousands of components and put on the PCBs in a second. Now, if there's a problem in that machine will start to drop parts. The cost of a drop part is not very high, but the downtime cost is very, very expensive. So what we are doing with this architecture, we are taking those streaming data in real time, getting in the cloud, and doing the real-time machine learning on the patterns. And the moment we find the ratio falling down a threshold, immediately we have a feedback loop. We know who the technician is on the floor and find out, get to them with a text or email, and immediately tell them what part they need to fix the machine. So this is where we are starting small, but again, from the infrastructure that we built so far and the credibility that we've earned with our business is the next progression step that we're going to take. Second thing that is very exciting to me is we are very big on the 3D printing. Again, people have used 3D printing for prototyping. I think it's got a lot more potential. Think of the 3D printing. The only raw material you need is a digital file. It's going to disrupt the long supply chains. So something that we are watching very, very carefully and very excited. Blockchain and all, we know it's happening, but probably automotive will not be the first one. It'll probably find its home more into fintech, so we'll watch it. But these are the trends that me and my team keep an eye when we come to these conferences. We see how much of it's real and take some of the use cases. I tell people, my team, that you need to become plumbers. Keep things ready, but don't pick up a project without a sponsor. So it's a very fine balance. If you tell your business, hey, come and see me in 6 months, they have no patience. They are against some very deadlines. So this is why investing in the network, investing in the infrastructure is so important that the moment there's a paying business customer, we don't take months. We do these things in weeks. And that's what establishes a lot of credibility with business. At the end, the essence of digital transformation, I think everybody talks about. We've done the system of records. We've done the system of intelligence. We've gone up the pyramid where we have created systems of differentiation, systems of innovations. But the bottom line is, what you and I work on, if they don't create an impact, then we're not doing our job. So our job is from a system of records to system of impact. Thank you very much.